Legends and the myths, Achilles.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Colin, or as my niece Maeve likes to call it, crack a cold one with Colin. So whether it is a cup of coffee or a cold, tasty adult beverage, I just want to welcome you here. I am so excited because tonight I have a very, very special guest, a really good friend of mine, and she's going to be joining us here in a second. But first, I just want to say a huge shout out to my sponsor, StreamYard. You guys rock. You guys are making this all possible. I'm so excited to be doing 9 episodes of this for the next 9 weeks, because this is all about me being able to bring on people and to talk to them about the things that I love to talk about, things that are inspiring, things that you're passionate about, learning how to overcome challenges in your life, to succeed and to pursue your dreams and accomplish your goals. Another one of my sponsors is Particular, a really good friend of mine, Todd Courtney. This is his app. You guys have to download it right now. This app will help you save you from hours of, when you jump on Netflix or you're like looking for something to watch with your girlfriend or boyfriend, and like 45 minutes goes by and you're like, you can't find anything. This app will help fix that. This has all of the best movies, top fives, top this, top that. And each week we are going to have my guests' top 5 favorite movies that we are going to be talking about here tonight. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest for tonight, the one, the only, the beautiful Emily Giffin. And I'm just going to read a little bit about her because she is someone who I've known for, I can't believe it, 10 years. Emily wrote the book Something Borrowed, which is the movie that I did with Kate Hudson, John Krasinski, Jennifer Goodwin was based on. And Emily was the one that pretty much was responsible for me being able to do the things that I love to do and for me to have the career that I have right now. If it wasn't for Emily, I don't think I would be here right now. So I'm so grateful for her. And just to give you a little background about Emily, if you don't know, or if you haven't really gotten to know what her real background is, she actually is a Chicago native too. She graduated from Wake Forest University, from the University of Virginia Law School that she went to. After law school, she moved to Manhattan and practiced litigation at a law firm for several years while she paid back her school loans. And while she was doing that, she was following her real passion, which was writing. She wrote her first novel in her very limited spare time, and she dreamed of becoming a writer. So despite the rejection, and we all know what rejection is all about, and this is what the show is all about too. How do we overcome rejection to manifest and create the things that we want to create? After the rejection that she faced, she persisted, and she ended up moving to London to pursue her dreams full-time of becoming a writer. And it was there that she wrote, yes, Something Borrowed. And this story is if you haven't read it, it's amazing. This is one of her 10 books that she's written, and she has recently come out with her latest masterpiece, The Lies That Bind. I am 2/3 of the way through the book, and it is a page turner. So I can't wait to ask her more about that. She is a New York Times bestseller. She's been dubbed the modern day Jane Austen by Vanity Fair, and she is truly an incredible storyteller. I could go on and on, but I just want to get her on here. So let's bring her on here right now. Emily, I can't wait to talk to you. How are you?
Hey, Colin.
Welcome.
So good to see you.
So good that you're here. So one major thing has changed since the last time I saw you.
What's that?
We are both authors now.
Well, we've talked about that. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. How's the book touring going? Are you doing a lot of events?
So I did my book tour all last year. And the amazing thing is it's transitioned and evolved into so many amazing things, including my online course and now this talk show. So the fact that I'm here, honestly, again, Emily, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to you for
I don't know about all that, Colin, but we did have so much fun on that movie, didn't we?
We did. I can't believe it was 10 years ago.
I know.
Yeah.
But we've been through a lot of your relationships in the meantime. So if you think about it that way, right?
Yes. And I've learned a lot from reading your books about relationship. and I've got some questions about relationships.
I've had a lot of conversations.
From not only myself, but a few of my viewers. And so, yeah, it's great to see you.
It's
the
really good to
past
see
few weeks
you.
been with all this pandemic and everything going on,
Right.
man, it's nice to be able to just have something like this where we can just escape into a great story and just tap into what it means to really fall in love, to just delve into those emotions of love and what is true love. And this is one of the reasons I became an actor, because I love finding out and discovering what motivates people to do what they do, including why people fall in love. Some people fall in love for certain reasons. And I always love to talk to you because you always have great insight about relationships, true love. So
we've had a lot of really long conversations about relationships and
yes.
these topics, haven't we, over the years?
Yes, so, you've helped me through some bad breakups.
Yeah.
And you've given me some really great advice too.
Yeah. I like the one personally where are you nervous now?
Yes. Yes. Were you actually the ghostwriter?
I did the tweet. I answered the one thing for you. Remember that?
Yes.
We got results.
Yes, we did. So if you guys are ever wanting to start a relationship on Twitter with someone, just ask Emily, because she's great at giving advice on the messages that you should send to get the response back, right? Yeah.
You know what? Here's the thing, though. This is what I said to you. It's all about being strategic early on, but once you have the foundation of a real relationship, that goes out the window.
Exactly.
And then it's all about honesty. It's about honesty in the beginning too, but you sort of have. I mean, there's a little bit of gamesmanship to it in the beginning.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay.
I think it's more so about proving yourself that you are worthy enough. And this is what I talk about. And there was a question actually that came up with this question regarding this topic. So why don't we just dive right into it? So the question came up was, when you meet a guy and he takes you out on a date, and I know a lot of women out there have expressed frustration that nowadays with Tinder and Bumble and all these dating apps, that a lot of the times they say that guys are just up for the quick hookup, and dating as we know it has actually gone completely out the window, where very rarely does a guy ask a girl out on a date. Have you been hearing this from your friends?
You know what? I think those apps kind of cater to that, right? But I think you can still, the thing that's hard right now is, can you even go out on dates? Can people go out on dates during a pandemic?
Pre-pandemic. So as things start to open up and we are able to be around each other again, then I would say this is some good advice moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, so what was the question again?
So the question is, what I hear from women.
Because all I'm thinking about is face masks and being socially distant and quarantine. But go ahead. I'll just pretend that we have a vaccine. I'll answer if we have a vaccine.
Exactly. And things are starting to open up. I mean, there's a restaurant right across from where I live. There's people outside. There's, the 6 feet apart sort of thing. But what I'm hearing from a lot of women is that with these dating apps, it's very easy for people to hook up. And I'm not saying that women don't like to hook up as well, but
for sure,
the common theme that I'm hearing is, especially for women who, are getting into the age where they're really looking for something serious. Sure. And the common complaint is that guys are not looking for that. They're looking for the hookup. They're dating 10 girls all at once, and they're not honest about it. And I think the art of dating has actually kind of gone out the window in terms of, you meet girl, you take her on a few dates, and then the question that came up was, how soon after meeting and how many dates or how many weeks or months would you tell a girl to wait before sleeping with the gentleman? When is it time? When is it okay? When is
I don't like those rules.
Okay.
I don't like those rules. And I don't like, there's no blanket statements when it comes to, I think, relationships. And so much of it is your intuition. True. And and that's why I think you could get into trouble, listening to your friends, polling your friends, and saying, what do you think of this guy? Or what do you think of that guy? And then we sort of just all fall back on this shallow, whether it's appearances or checklist, what's his, And I think we have to, in this world, in this like world of apps and dating and quick hits, and we have to remember that it's just about a connection with two people. And I think you can get to that fairly quickly. Even if in this, like, let's say post swiping, when you're having your first conversation, but before you go on a date, like, I think people, if they're honest with themselves, they really form an opinion pretty quickly about whether that person, forgetting the checklist. So like you can have your whole like, oh, he looks good on paper, isn't he cute? Yeah. And screenshot, send to your friends. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that first time that you have that one-on-one, you have that conversation. I think that people generally can tell. You have to trust yourself.
Well, how do you know if a guy's intentions are true or if he's just looking for a hookup?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can tell that. Like, don't you? I mean, I know you're a guy, but I mean, don't you feel like your first instincts around women and dating have usually been right? Like whatever you thought, I mean, maybe you're fooled on the margins here and there, but don't you feel like for the most part, you were right?
Yeah, well, see, I would say, and this is advice that I would give women, us men, because we get excited, we get attracted, our hormones are going crazy. So when we meet someone that we think we like, we call it a crush, right? So sure. I think it's important that a woman resists any of the advances from a man too quickly. Or resists it enough where that initial crush phase kind of levels out to when a girl really truly trusts that his intentions are pure. Because in the beginning, and I admit this, I sometimes have found myself in a situation where I think this feels good. I think this woman is the right woman. So I say that. It's not that I'm lying. It's not that I'm being dishonest. But I feel like maybe I say things in the moment when I'm feeling them and it's more so just because that excited crush feeling. And then as maybe I get to know someone, I realize that maybe it's not the right fit. And at that point, then it may seem like I was lying because my feelings may have changed. So what I do is I try to take my time to get to know someone.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. That's a big thing that I've learned growing up. And so I think it's important that women just kind of push back and make a guy earn her respect and earn that, if I'm really going to spend some time with this guy, I'm not going to give it up in the first few dates unless I really feel like this is maybe going to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. But then again, it's like women are sometimes just wanting to have the quick hookup as well. So it just depends on what you want, right?
I don't know. I think you fall into I've always thought about you. I know I make you nervous when I start these sentences, right? I should, good.
Yeah, we're just going.
Feels a little bit. But I think you've always sort of fallen into this idealistic camp that I think actually is more like you have more in common with women on that front, where you want like the stars to align and everything. Mm-hmm. And if something goes off course early on, you're sort of like, well, maybe this isn't there, so my advice to you, and I know you're in a relationship now and things are going great, so you don't need my advice anymore. But my advice to you and to people like you is to like, don't be so, it doesn't have to be fireworks and perfection for you to pursue it.
Right. And there's been instances where there wasn't the fireworks in the beginning, and just kind of getting to know that person, I got to know them. And once I really got to know them, I was like, you know what?
Sure.
There really is real chemistry here.
Yeah.
I really do like this person.
And I think that's the problem, which goes back to my original answer, was there's not sort of a flow chart, a universal flow chart that you can say, it's like those tests that you used to take. Did you ever read those magazines? I know you probably didn't, but your female friends and girlfriends, when you take the tests and in the magazines and the checklists, and it's just, you can oversimplify this too much. You have to trust yourself.
Yeah.
You have to sort of trust that human connection. I think it's better to hop on a FaceTime sooner rather than later, because everyone sort of can create, a persona. And sometimes I don't even think, okay, so The Lies That Bind. Book.
Yeah.
The book.
Yeah, because in the book you have, so The main character. What's that, Em?
But it's as much about the lies. Okay, let me do the premise real quick, but then let me get to sort of how it ties into relationship advice. So the premise is a young journalist in the summer of 2001, which is sort of the last summer of innocence in New York City, like the Sex and the City time before 9/11 happened. She's in a breakup. She meets a new guy. She falls madly in love. She's just like, this is my guy. And then 9/11 happens, and she questions, did she even really know him at all?
Right.
And the novel explores the question, how can we truly know someone else if we don't know ourselves? So interestingly, this ties in very much to the whole like dating theme and the questions that you're asking me right now, because I think a lot of times we, in whether it's in a romantic relationship or friendships or, our online social media, we tell lies to ourselves. We
want it to work.
We lie to ourselves in the sense that we want life to look a certain way, and we convince ourselves that they are a certain way. And I think you have to really peel back those layers and get to know who you are and your authentic self before you can really connect with somebody else. Preach, Emily, preach, Angela says.
Exactly.
But no,
which
but
is
really,
exactly what Dex had to go through in Something Borrowed, right? Because Dex felt like he had to live up to this certain expectations.
Yeah, we can't really talk about Cecily right now because we don't want to spoil the plot. But if you didn't read Something Borrowed by now, that book came out in 2004. We're gonna ruin the plot for you right now. You've had 16 years to read it. But she needed to figure out, Rachel, your lover in the book and the movie, needed to figure out who she was before she could really figure out who you were.
And so did I. I mean, we both had to figure out who
and
we
so
were.
did you.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when I sat down to write that book, I wanted to tell the story of a woman, turning 30, leaving her career as a lawyer, which I was doing. Personally, I was leaving my career as a lawyer. I was turning 30. The similarities end there. I was not in love with my best friend's fiance or my best friend's boyfriend or a good friend's fiance or any of the above. But, I think, what was I saying? I got rattled there.
Well, we were talking about you got to know yourself.
Oh yeah.
You can get
but when I was writing the book, I'm good. Harriet's checking on me periodically to make sure I don't need anything. My daughter, 13.
Your daughter, Harriet. Is she there? Can we say hi to her real quick?
Harriet, come here real quick and say hi to Colin.
Harriet
still has your pipe cleaner, Harriet, that you made her. Come and say hi real quick. Okay.
Where are you, Harriet?
Say hi.
Hi.
Oh. Harriet, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So are you going to become an author like your mom?
No.
No? Why not?
Rather do sports.
Too much drama?
She'd rather do sports. She said Harriet has dyslexia. She's overcome a lot. You have dyslexia too. You've overcome a lot.
I don't have dyslexia.
Oh, you don't?
Tom Cruise does. That's probably why you're confusing us. So yeah.
You know what I'm thinking? That you did the little pipe cleaner Harriet and you talked to her about dyslexia.
Okay.
So it wasn't you, someone else. Okay.
Exactly.
I do remember that. But anyway, in Something Borrowed, so when I sat down to write the book, I wanted Rachel to have this relationship and realize that she shouldn't be having an affair with her best friend's fiance, and you were a jerk, and she needed to find her own way, and she was going to go into her 30s single and alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I envisioned. But as I sat down to write the book and put the two of you, put Rachel and Dex together on the written page and realized that they really did have a connection and they did have chemistry and it was real. And so if you follow the whole thing of like, oh, well, someone's cheating on someone else with you, once a cheater, always a cheater. Again, that's an oversimplification of these rules we have. And these little sound bites. And I think that can be dangerous because if Rachel had followed that, she would have broken up with you in the book and the movie. And, you guys are a perfect match and you're still married today. You're still together today.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because a lot of people, it was controversial because a lot of people were pissed that I cheated on my fiance and ended up with Rachel. But it's like, is it better to just, I mean, of course, cheating is never good.
Sure.
But in the moment where we, like you were saying, we're discovering who we are. And in that mix of confusion and trying to figure it out, sometimes things happen where, okay, you know what? I'm not happy that I ended up cheating on someone, but through that process, I discovered that who I was really in love with was Rachel. And my philosophy is, if someone really loves you enough, they will care enough about what you really want and need in life, let you go. Why would you want to control someone? Why would you want to try to keep someone in a relationship if they didn't feel the same thing about you? And that's a tough thing to accept, though.
And I think I totally agree with what you're saying. And I think in addition to that, there's this, we have to remember, and I think that's this is what I write books about. I've written 10 books about good people doing, bad things.
Yeah.
Like I think most of us,
difficult.
Yeah. Most of us are good people. I mean, you have, of course, there's real evil in the world, and we're seeing some of that now. And we see it, we've always seen it throughout history. But overwhelmingly, I think human beings, regardless of where we live or, or socioeconomics or countries or any, like we're all really good people trying to do the right thing. But guess what? We screw up. We lie. We have affairs. We betray a good friend, or we do the wrong thing, or we don't stand up for what we know to be right. And we let each other down, and we hurt each other time and time again. And typically the way it works is we hurt the people we love the most, because those are the ones where the stakes are higher. And you have, if you hurt a stranger, you can probably get over it pretty quickly. But if you hurt like your brother, your spouse, your best friend. So my books are very much about finding forgiveness for one another, and redemption and empathy. And I think what I like to do is have readers put themselves in the character's shoes. Like, what if I fell in love with my best friend's fiance, and what if it was really the love of my life, and my friend was kind of a jerk? Like, what would I do? And I think sorting through those nuances and those shades of gray and the messiness of life, like relationships are messy. Life is messy. It's imperfect. We're imperfect. We're imperfect to begin with, and then we form relationships with other imperfect people, and things go off course, and we end up in really sad, bad places. But it's all about, to me, finding your way back, doing better the next time, learning from your mistakes, finding redemption, forgiving. Forgiveness is a massive theme in all of mine. And learning to say you're sorry. I mean, it's a very hard thing to say I'm sorry, to like look, just to admit that you were wrong. I think that's something that my characters all have to come to terms with. They definitely. Where are you in the last?
I'm 2/3 of the way through, so without giving up too much. And this book really hits home for me, because I was living across the street from the World Trade Center when all of that happened. So just to be reading about this, and what you do so well is you create such vivid imagery with your writing that I feel like I'm right back in that moment. But not only just like walking the streets of New York, but you have an amazing way of really capturing authenticity of what it's like to have that first kiss, to be falling in love, but then like sort of questioning it and doubting it. And one of our viewers here, Nadine, she wrote, "You can't control who you fall in love with, and sometimes you end up marrying the wrong person." Do you think that you can't control who you fall in love with? Do you think love is a choice, or do you think it's a feeling?
Well, both. I mean, both. And the thing that's interesting about that is some people view life very much as a like relationships as a checklist. Think about it. There are arranged marriages that flourish and are amazing, and they have so many kids, and there's one, like, so that can work. And it can also, there's a lot of people who just need to be wildly in love and have all that chemistry. I think the problem is when you're on two different pages with that, right? Like, you have to sort of know what it is you want, and Are you reading the questions too? I've said it before.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Ashley.
Ashley says, I've said it before, the details
I've said
Emily
it
puts in
before,
her
but the
books
details
are
Emily puts in
amazing.
her books. Thank you. Thank you. That's really sweet. But, I think it's both. I mean, I think that certain people need to feel that rush of emotion. Certain people need that. And if they need that, that's what they need. So just to tell that person, this is really important, Colin, so don't look at your notes. This is important. I know, but I want you to hear this. And I want you to hear this.
You tell me, you preach.
Okay. So if that's what you need, if that's what you need to make you happy, then someone coming along and saying, don't follow that. That instinct is wrong. You need your checklist. That kind of person isn't going to be happy when they find their checklist without that there. So that person's going to end up on their wedding day and they're going to be walking down the aisle and they're going to be like, I'm not in love and I'm devastated. And it doesn't matter how many people tell them you're marrying a great guy. It doesn't matter how great that guy is. Right?
Yep.
But
so how do you know it's the right guy?
Right. But by the same, so don't listen to those people. Listen to your gut, listen to your heart. But by the same token,
listening to your gut can be confusing. So
okay,
how do you know if you're with the right guy?
I'm coming to that second part of the analysis.
Okay.
That was part A.
Okay.
Part B is whatever is important to you. If it's important to you, it needs to be there also. So like, let's say, for example, you want to have children. A whole book. I wrote Baby Proof. My whole third book was about this. One person wanted a child, the other person didn't. If it is important to you to raise your children Catholic or Jewish, or if it's important to you to live in a city and not in the suburbs. So like if it's important, if it's important to you, even if it's the most shallow thing in the world, it's important to you to date someone, to be married to someone who's tall. I had a friend, my husband is short, on the short side. He's 5'8". And I had a friend that said, and she's watching tonight, our friend Allie.
What's up, Allie?
And she said, he's too short for you. And you know what? That's how she, and now she loves my husband. And I'm so mad at me for saying this.
That stuff is not as important.
But Colin, if she wants a tall husband, then that's valid. That's valid for her to want a tall husband or to raise your kids a certain, like, you need to be true to your checklist and what's important to you.
Yeah. Just know that you're limiting yourself though to someone who may be amazing and like you may be perfectly matched, but just because he's short, you're discounting someone
you
might have an amazing relationship with.
But by the same token, if that is important to you, like if you don't find someone attractive, or like if you don't find someone like their chemistry's off somehow, like, you know how that can happen. We've talked about that.
Absolutely.
So if that's off, it doesn't matter who else thinks the person's gorgeous or, oh, he's perfect, but no, you have to feel it. So you have to know what's important to you. You have to know what's important to you, and you have to be honest with yourself. Again, it goes back to the lies we tell ourselves. Because if you're lying to yourself, eventually it's going to catch
up to you. Yeah. You cannot suppress any feelings where you're not true to yourself.
No. Now that said, I do believe, and I want to depart from that for a second. I do very much believe that love, once you've committed to something, love is a choice, and love is a verb, love is an action. To constantly put yourself first and chase that feeling is selfish and is wrong, particularly when you have a family. Once you have kids, like you've got something greater than yourself, which isn't to say you should be miserable, but it's to say not every Sunday night when you're taking the trash down to the curb and finishing up homework is going to be like heart racing and, a euphoric, passionate experience. So, so I think it's different for everyone. Everyone has different feelings around that. And then of course you're combining with someone else. So you have to be in line with what's important to them as well. Yeah.
I think it's one of the keys to what I've learned is the key to a successful relationship is just talking about what your common goals are for what the relationship is. Because I think people get into a relationship, They may have some sexual chemistry. They may like each other. They may like, playing golf or watching TV or, whatever it is. But then if you don't have, like you were saying before, common goals about, if you want kids or not, if it's important that you guys have date nights to make sure that you are constantly feeding the relationship, and you're not just kind of drifting apart, living together as roommates, but you are actively working on what's important to the relationship. That's something my mom told me.
She did?
Yes. And she says hi, by the way.
Tell her I said hi. I love her.
I will. And she loved your last book, All We Ever Wanted.
She did?
Yes.
You know what? I want to
send her a signed copy for her.
I know, but I need to send her the new one.
Yes, you do.
I sent it to you, but I would love to send her one. So,
I
have your address.
Just so people can get an idea, if you have never heard of or read any of Emily's books, this is a perfect example of how amazing Emily creates a moment. So this is. Do
you remember you read? Wait. I can be outboss you. I'm older than you. I'm your elder states mama.
Okay.
But do you remember when we were in Barnes and Noble and you read like a sex scene aloud in the Barnes and Noble? Okay. So I've matured since then. I can handle anything you throw.
Okay, good. So I was blushing a little bit before. Now you are. So even.
Okay.
So this is Cecily, who is the protagonist in the book.
Okay.
And she has met this tall gentleman named Grant, and she's fallen in love with him. And like you said, there was this other man in her life, and she's now exploring what this might be with Grant. So they take a romantic drive up to his cabin, and they're sitting on the couch. And then it happens. He puts one hand on my cheek, then lowers and tilts his face toward mine until we are just inches apart. Less than that. When he closes his eyes, I do the same. Waiting, spinning, falling harder by the second until finally, I feel his lips softly graze mine. Time stands still.
He's doing it to me again, guys.
And I can't breathe. I can't move. I can't think. All I can do is listen to the crackling of the fire and my heart pounding in my ears. Then we kiss for real. A long, deep, hungry
okay, Colin.
As I feel myself fall all the way.
No spoiler.
Oh my God. Boom! Fireworks, sparks, amazing. I can see it in the movie theater right now. So we got to get this movie made, and we've got to get something blue.
Okay, it's gonna be a limited series.
What is?
The Lies That Bind.
Oh, for TV.
Yeah. So tell me who you see.
Okay. Well, people are saying they're asking if I would be in this. I don't know, because these characters are in their 30s and I'm an old man now, so maybe I could be like the grandfather or something.
Well, let's just say you could totally play either of the male leads, but let's put that aside for a second. And then who do you picture?
For Matthew, I could see.
Let's start with Cecily.
So, okay, Cecily, Emma Stone.
Okay.
I could see Elizabeth Olsen. I could see what's her name from Harry Potter? How do I not?
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. Because she's your character. She's got dark hair, dark eyes.
Can you see Emilia Clarke?
Yes, I could definitely see Emilia Clarke. That's a good one.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yep.
Can you see? I'm trying to think of other ones that people keep suggesting. Emmy Rossum.
I think she might be a little too mature.
Strong.
Yeah. Emmy Rossum, she's I think there's an innocence to Cecily that I think it's a little bit of a younger character who's still trying to figure things out. And I think, I just think Cecily is just someone who's a little less mature.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Grant and Matthew, I want your casting thoughts.
So Grant is supposed to be like super tall, right? Tall, dark, handsome.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to like be remember,
Okay.
Darcy was supposed to be a brunette. And we
Okay,
did
I brought my hat in for Grant. And then for Matthew, who do you think?
What about the Timothy Spider-Man? Timothy, come on, guys, help us out.
Timothy.
Him.
Chalamet or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He's a
what about him?
phenomenal actor. He's a little on the younger side, though.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. I think he's maybe only like 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jeremy Renner or Bradley
Cooper.
Cooper. That's what Nadine says.
Hey, Nadine.
So I think so this is going to be made into a limited TV series then, right?
It is.
Okay, by the producer of Something Borrowed, Molly Smith.
So Molly and Rachel are doing this.
Very
and
cool.
we it was always like finish the book. I sent it to them. They are, I wanted them to make this with me. I trust them and their sensibility. They understand my characters and what I'm trying to do. And there's just trust and friendship there.
Yep. They're awesome.
They did such a great job with Something Borrowed. So we were actually working on several things at once. So
the $1 million question. Yes.
Yeah.
Something Blue.
Yes, we are.
I can't tell you how many people are so anxious to know if that movie's coming out or if it's going to happen.
It is going to happen.
Oh my God.
When? I promise you it's going to happen. It's
from
things
are, it has to happen.
It will happen. I think that right now, because it's tough too, because we're I want to do these things with Molly and Rachel. So right now we're focused on The Lies That Bind and casting that. But of course, there's a cameo. Have you gotten to the cameo yet in The Lies That Bind?
Wait, with Dex? He's obviously not. So I've read up 203. I'm 2/3 of the way through, and I have not seen or heard of Dex. Ethan has come into the restaurant in London, but I haven't seen Dex yet.
We'll keep reading.
Okay.
What we're thinking is that, Lies That Bind, limited series. You guys have to help with the casting, get us your ideas. And find me on Instagram. Tell me what you think. At Emily Giffin, author. No R in Giffin. Hate that. But yeah, tell me what you think. Give us your suggestions. But then I think you drop in the cameo of I don't want to. No spoilers. Just read it.
You don't want to spoil it.
Read it. Read the book. But I think that then we'll do Something Blue. And, work from there, because all the books it's not a sequel. They're not sequels to one another. They're not like a series, but they feature cameos of former works.
Yeah. So, and again, that's what you are so good at, is interweaving different storylines, different characters. So my question to you is, because a lot of what the thrust of Coffee with Colin is I love to find out.
You just said thrust stuff.
The thrust, meaning like what the show is all about. What's the theme?
I'm messing with you. What?
Do you want to, maybe you could look that up in your dictionary?
What was the question?
See, now that I'm an author as well, I can throw it right back at you. So what I like to know is, did you always want to be a writer? And for anyone out there who's a young writer who's contemplating, do I become a writer? How difficult is it? Or do I take the traditional route of doing what I think the responsible route that I think my parents might be making me do? How did you know that, okay, yes, I'm good enough to be an author, and that's something that you wanted to do professionally?
Well, you just asked so many questions in there. So let me just parse it a little bit here. I always knew I wanted to be a writer from the time I was in the first grade. I went to it was the first grade. You had to say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to write books. And my mother said, the word for that is author. And I said, okay, author. And I wrote that was the first time I'd heard the word author. And like, that's what I want to do. So I ended up going to law school because I think a lot of people can relate to this. So I always wanted to be a writer. I was creative writing club in high school. It was I was the editor in chief of the newspaper. I, was just did all of I was always into writing. But then, I went to college, got, I had good grades at Wake Forest, and then sort of panicked. I think that happens to us. Like we panic, like, oh, well, what if I'm not good enough to do this or that? So I need to be more practical. And so I went to law school. And I think a lot of people go to law school because they're, high achievers in school. Like they did well in school, got fairly good grades, and they know that they can do well on the LSAT. And so they go to law school because they either A, don't know what it is they want to do, or B, they know what they want to do, but they're nervous about pursuing that path. Mm-hmm. And I fell into that latter camp. So I will say this, though, because a lot of people write to me, went to law school, and they fall into one of those two camps and they panic and they say, oh, I shouldn't be in law school and I'm going to have all this debt. And I'll say this, it's okay to go to law school, or it's okay to not pursue your dream. I mean, we do have to be practical, and mistakes, whether it's a bad relationship or a bad career choice or getting a degree in something you really don't want to practice, all of those things are okay because they lead you to relationships and discoveries about yourself. We learn more from our mistakes than we learn from like getting it just right. I mean, how often do you date like the worst person and then marry the love of your life, right? I mean, that's
because you've learned from that experience.
I often say I was actually lucky to hate my job as a lawyer because that allowed me to find the courage to quit and pursue being a writer. So if I had liked it a little bit, maybe I would still be practicing law. So I think we can't be so worried about making decision, being so paralyzed by making decision that, or being so filled with regret, like, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Just like move on, like move on, take what you learned and move on. And so that's sort of what I did with being a lawyer. I paid back my loans. I was practiced for 5 years. It was right around the time of 9/11 actually, which is like in the book was one of the reasons I chose to sort of set it at this time, because it's not so much about the historic event and tragedy as it is about the fact that these moments cause us to stop and pause and take stock of our lives and our relationships and our choices. Like this whole pandemic, all of we've been all cooped up a lot. And so we think more, do we like this relationship? I can't tell you the number of people who have DM'd me, strangers and friends who have said, I'm getting a divorce. Or I'm getting married,
Yeah. Guess what? You have to face and deal with this situation of whatever your relationship is, because it's so easy to avoid it by burying your feelings or whatever you're dealing with in work and just avoiding it. But divorce lawyers are.
But I also think that to answer more specifically to other writers who are on here, because you're a writer, I'm a writer, so I think there's probably a good chance that there's a number of people listening who are writers or aspire to write a book, whether it's, memoir, like self-help, motivational, like yours, or novels like mine. And so I'll just say, first of all, the way you ended your question, I think, was something like, how did you know you would be like, how did you find the courage to know you would be good enough to something?
Yeah.
Throw that out, because it's not about like being good enough. It's about doing what you feel is in your heart. It's like, and because when I wrote Something Borrowed, I mean, there were times that I'm like, I'll never, like, you look at books, you look at books on your shelves with covers and, blurbs in the front. You're like, well, I'll never be able to do that. But you just tell the story you want to tell, and then, and know that you are a writer now. It's not that you want to be a writer. If you're writing, you're a writer. If you're a runner, you like, I'm going to be a runner. Like, my boys are huge runners.
Yeah.
And if I'm running, if I go out and run, they say, you're not a runner, you're a hobby jogger. I'm like, I'm running. I'm not running as fast as you. I'm running and I'm doing my best. Don't call me a hobby jogger. I mean, you can call me a hobby jogger, but like, support what it is that we're doing, and the love of doing it more than it is like the achievement. Because I think if you get too caught up into the achievement, like getting the book published or running the marathon, then you lose out on the process.
Yeah, I used.
Does that make sense?
When I was studying acting, when people asked me what I did, I almost felt like a fraud saying I was an actor because I wasn't making a living as an actor. And I used that as motivation. I said, I am not going to tell people I'm an actor until I actually have a steady paying acting job. And that was the motivation. So it wasn't that I didn't believe that I could be an actor or that I was an actor. I used it as motivation to say, okay, I'm going to bust my ass because this is what I love to do. And I'm just going to use that as motivation so that when I booked my first real acting job on All My Children as the transplanted, unaborted fetus of Erica Kane, then I was able to say, I am an actor. And that's when I was like, boom, game on.
I mean, you were related to Erica Kane.
Yes.
I mean, she's like the most famous actress in all
daytime television.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
talk about and
Jack
resiliency. 19 years, and then she won her Emmy.
It was crazy. Don't you love that story of resilience?
Yes. 19 times.
And imagine if she had defined herself by all the times that her name didn't get called, Yeah.
I
mean, she's beloved.
Yeah. And working with her, she just loved what she did. She would just show up to set. And after being on the show for 39 years, it was as if like it was her first day. She just loved acting and she was so sweet, so generous. You could just tell she just loved what she did. And that's what's infectious. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What is your writing process?
Hey, Kathleen.
Oh, there she is. What's up, Mom? You are a gem.
Hey, Kathleen, I'm sending you a book. You're a gem too. I love you.
And this was actually my mom's question. She said, Can you ask Emily what her process is? Do you lock yourself in your writer's nook? Can you go to Starbucks? Like, where do you get your ideas?
You get your ideas everywhere. I mean, from Kathleen, I get my ideas from your son here when he tells me these stories, in the past. Now you're still a little more settled. But you get you from the media, from the news, from your book, other books you read, from music, they're all around you. Ideas are swirling all around you. I like to write in either complete isolation or in chaos. So I like my office with like signs like "Don't come in here," no leaf blowing, no, don't mow the lawn, like silence. Or I like being in the middle of like O'Hare Airport with in the thunderstorms with like flight delays and announcements. And in that din, I sort of can create well. It's just, I think it's hard. The hardest for me is like that mid ground when you just hear one voice, like you're in Starbucks and you hear one conversation to the left of you. Like that's no good for me. I can't do that. But
yeah. And do you have an idea of how the story is going to end when you start writing it? Or like, do you have the whole kind of outline planned out before you start writing?
No.
Or do you just have the idea of the characters and as you start writing, it's like, it kind of takes different.
Well, it's like the something borrowed example we use. Like I have a vague sense of beginning, middle, end. Girl falls in love with her best friend's fiance. She has an affair. She realizes the affair is no good. She's doing the wrong thing. She jettisons them both. She's empowered woman going and living in London. And then, so I have the framework, beginning, middle, end. But then as I write and get to know the characters, it's kind of like, when you meet a new friend or a new like relationship, love interest, you think you know what they're going to do, and then they surprise you, or then you like it's not what you thought. So as you get to know the characters, by the time you're at the halfway point of the book, like, well, of course Rachel would do this or Dex would do this because now you know them. Where in the beginning, when you had the outlines in your head, they were just sort of a type. They were just like right. But now you know them, and so you know what they're going to do. And then at that point, it's not up to you anymore, right? You're the what is it? The puppeteer. Mm-hmm. The actual puppet would be called is the marionette. Is the marionette the person puppeteering or vice versa?
I think the marionette is the one controlling the puppet.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Or is a marionette another word for puppet?
Well, we can check it out right now.
Okay, check it out. No time like the present.
So the marionette, a puppet worked from above by strings attached to its limbs. So marionette is the actual puppet. Wow.
Okay. So at first, Dex was a mere marionette. But by the time I put him on the written page and got to know him and his, all his like emotions and put him with Rachel and wrote these scenes, he was no longer,
He came to life. He had his own voice.
He was his own thing. And it was like, I had to be true to it, which was, he was in love. Holy shit.
Yeah.
He was in love with Rachel. Like I didn't see that coming.
So you didn't know the ending of Something Borrowed when you started writing it?
The ending of Something Borrowed was completely different than when I got to know Dex and I realized he was not a cad. I love that word, that old-fashioned word. He wasn't a jerk. He wasn't the typical guy that would fall in love, like would have an affair while he was engaged to someone else. I mean, most people who do that are just jerks, right? But you weren't. He wasn't. And so I got to know him. And then, of course, that drives the story. Because now I don't want to keep away two people who are truly in love with one another just because in my mind, I wanted the character to end up sort of super independent. Like I don't want Rachel to stare into this literary artsy abyss just to make her cool and independent when she's really in love with him. That's messed up. That's not my place as an author. Does that make sense?
So are you trying to convey a message when you write books that when people read them, there's a takeaway, or is it just more for entertainment?
No, because if I do that, then again, my characters are sort of subject to my message.
Okay.
So they're not real. So it has to be the story is written, and then what's the message? And then you see the messages in the same way that like you live your life, you go through your episode of angst and like, death or challenge or being fired. And then you look back and you see the message. And so then, to be fair, to be honest, then I go back and sort of try to crystallize those points. But I can't really see them until the story's written because I don't know I really know their journey. Just like you don't know your own. I think it becomes very heavy handed if you're like, I'm going to tell this story about X, Y, and Z. Or if you go into it thinking I'm going to tell the story with this message, you have to be ready to adapt and say that you're, and say, oh, well, the message is different than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
For me, I mean, I'm sure that there's many writers who do it differently, but that's how I do it.
Okay. And last question before we wrap up here. What is the most difficult or most challenging thing about being a writer? And how do you overcome those challenges to become a New York Times bestselling author?
Sometimes
writer's block, like do you get writer's block?
Look at you and laugh.
Commit to sitting down and writing, even though you can't think of anything? Do you ever lack ideas? Do you go for a jog? Do you go driving?
Yeah, I'm a hobby jogger, remember?
Right, yeah.
I think the hard part is remembering, and I think this is true in a lot of life, remembering to find the joy in what it is you're doing. Remembering, sometimes I'll get so worried about, is this book good? Or will people like it? Or will I make my deadline? And, I think that angst can translate into a lot of our lives and our professional, relationship. But I think you have to sort of say, okay, why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I love creating stories and I want readers to be able to connect with them. So I'm going to tell a really authentic story and I'm going to write from the heart. And if it's a little bit late and my editor gets it late, that's okay because I want the book to be right. I want the story to be right. And I'm enjoying this. This is what I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a writer. So this is like, find the joy in what it is you're doing and in your authentic voice. And then I think you kind of work your way back and you say, that wasn't really such a problem after all. Yeah. And, I think that's kind of like where I am with things where I try to be pretty filterless and just sort of. Yeah,
you are.
I am. And,
no, it's a good thing. It's refreshing.
You have to be careful with that too. I mean, you have to be careful with your words and the power of your words and realize that my voice and my platform has changed over time and you have to be more careful. for reasons that are important because you want to use your voice for good. So yeah, but that's, I would say, the answer. My long-winded answer.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And so as we wrap up here, particular again is, Todd Courtney, my really good friends. He developed this app.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, hey, Todd. I love Todd. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got this amazing app where it's all about giving people suggestions for movies to watch. So I want to ask you, Miss Emily Giffin, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Okay, this is a bizarre little choice. I don't think a lot of people have this one, but it is my favorite movie is Stand By Me.
Great movie.
I love that movie.
Was out of left field. And what do you like about it?
I love the intensity of that coming of age. I remember the last line of the movie is, I never had friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus, does anyone? They're such like, I actually watched that movie so many times. Then I got the VC, then I like paused it after every line and wrote it down and then typed it up on my brother word processor. I'm obsessed with that movie. I love it. Okay. And I love Phoenix. So Stand By Me.
Yep. He was great. Okay. Favorite comedy. I'm going to ask you favorite comedy and favorite romantic comedy. So what's your favorite comedy?
I'd say favorite comedy, like straight comedy, would be Trading Places.
Great movie. Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
Yes.
But romantic comedy, and they're my favorites. So that's the hardest category to achieve in.
I mean, besides Something Borrowed, of course.
Well, yeah. Something Borrowed would be number one. Good point. Yes. That's my favorite overall movie, but my favorite rom-com would be When Harry Met Sally.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's great. And I mention it in a lot of my books. Just like the characters mention it because, Okay, go ahead.
Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan, amazing. So you may actually, the answer to this next question may actually be Meg Ryan. Who is your favorite character in a movie?
A female or male? Actress or
female.
actor?
Let's do female first.
So female would be Jane Craig, which is played by Holly Hunter in Broadcast News.
Okay.
Total badass.
Yes.
So the younger kids out here watching this, younger generation, go watch Broadcast News.
Broadcast News. You'll find out what flop sweat really means.
Exactly.
Yeah. And favorite male character in a movie? Hugh Grant, by chance?
Oh, I love Hugh Grant. I'd say either Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption.
Great choice.
Morgan Freeman in anything. Or Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life. It's hard to do that.
Great movie.
Those two.
All
so
right.
we got an old one and a new one. Black and white and a present day.
Awesome. So you guys can go to particular in the app there. Emily's top 5 movies will be there. So you guys can
You didn't ask about my favorite feel-good movie.
Oh, okay. Right. Favorite feel-good movie. Yes. We got to get that one in there.
Because you told me these in advance.
Okay. Let's do it.
Because no one can think of these off the top. Well, except for your favorite. Okay. Dirty Dancing. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
I have yet to see that movie.
Shut up.
I know people always say that. And like, look, I'm a guy. I'm like, why would I watch Dirty Dancing? I mean, I'm a Patrick Swayze fan, but I mean, come on.
First of all, Colin.
I know.
You are so in touch with your feminine side.
I've got to learn how to dance because
Okay, no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. After we hang up, you're going to text me when you're available to pour a glass of wine and watch Dirty Dancing with me on the phone.
Done.
Okay, you've got to watch that.
Okay.
That's insane. Okay.
All
there
right.
we go. We'll end on that note.
Well, we're going to end on, this is Ask the 8 Ball.
Okay.
So Emily, you get to ask the 8 Ball one question, and then the 8 Ball will tell you the answer. So we're going to manifest something here.
Okay. Okay.
So you ask the 8 Ball, and then we're going to reveal what the answer is.
Okay. The question is, Colin Egglesfield, will you be a married man this time next year.
Ooh, let's see. And it says, signs point to yes. I'm going to take a picture of this because I shit you not, that is exactly what it says. So
do I get to be a reader in your
you
wedding?
want to come to my wedding in Brazil?
Well, first of all, yeah, I'm coming to your wedding. But second of all, I want to roll.
A roll? Oh, in my wedding.
Yeah, I want to
Okay.
actually do something like hand something out or read something or
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You can write like the little brochure or whatever it is, right?
It's not a brochure.
What's it called? I've never been
It's
married.
called a program.
A program. Yes. Okay. Emily, I always have an amazing time with you. I miss you being on set and us hanging out.
I miss you, Colin.
You are one of my favorite people. Truly, I've learned so much from you. You are incredibly inspiring. Thank you for being here. I can't thank you enough. And hopefully with everything starting to open up again, we'll be able to see each other again in person.
I hope so, Colin. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who joined us.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Especially my readers. I especially thank you over his fans.
They're equally as great.
I know,
and now they can all be our fans. So that's what's
right.
amazing.
That's right.
Great.
We'll share.
Thank you again, StreamYard. You guys rock. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you. And again, thank you, Todd, everyone at Particular. And I just want to say a huge thank you to my mom's friend, Jackie, because Jackie has taken care of my mom over the past 3 years. My dad passed away 3 years ago. And Jackie, you have been incredibly supportive to my mom. And I just wanted to give you a huge shout out. And the next time I see you in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I'm going to give you a huge hug. So thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye, Colin.
All right, guys.